Howdy. Howdy doody. Hear that hissing? No hiss, hiss. So I've been wanting to make a video on here. We'll turn this up here. Yeah, been wanting to make a video on this little Soldano amp that I bought. This is the SLO Mini. They've been out for a few years, and there's a lot of videos online about them. I had no idea the thing existed till recently, so I purchased it, and I've been playing with it for, I don't know, I guess about 2 or 3 months now, and I love it for many reasons. Yes, it is a solid-state amplifier, but that's not always a bad thing. Their solid-state amps, I think, do get a bad rap for a lot of reasons. I get it. There's no harmonic bloom to them. There's no natural tube sag or any of that stuff. But it does make them tighter and faster. One of the reasons we put a TS9 or a tube screamer or any, TS9 tube screamer overdrive, there's a plethora of them out there. One of the reasons why we put that in the front end of a tube amp is to control. It's not just about distortion. It's about harmonic bloom. And it's about tightening up tube sag. So tube amplifiers naturally sag. What that is the voltage is dropping. And this physically can be felt when you're playing. This is why, this is one of the reasons that even no matter what the resolution of modeling is, can't really get to that because it can't replicate a physical action. It can only take an analog signal, turn it into math, and then spit it out, a version of it that may sound like it, but it's not going to feel like it. I always, when we talk about modeling, I always think about the movie Pet Sematary and the cat. And after the cat dies, they put it in the grave and it comes back and it looks like the same cat, but something's a little off, right? I'm not saying that modeling is going to attack you and terrorize your house. I'm just saying that the sound is a little off. So it doesn't do that. But with a solid state amplifier, you're still in the analog domain, so it still has an organic thing to it. And I think that solid state amps, because everybody started moving towards modeling 20 years ago, they're kind of just left in the background stagnant. But Soldano released this, and what he talks about with this amp, gotta keep that in frame. What he talks about with this little guy here is that it's basically the same values as a real SLO, meaning that there's cascading gain structure. The values of the potentiometers when you boost cut and do all of that is all the same. And it really does have that tonal character of an SLO. In a Class D power amp, which is super light, 30 watts, but it's loud. This amp on 2 or 3 is over 90 dB. That's plenty loud enough for any stage, especially in clubs, theaters, that kind of thing. You don't need to be beyond that. 100 dB, you're gonna see the front of house guy come running at you, telling you to turn down. So that would be this amp. Maybe on 4 or 5, it's gonna reach 100, 105 dB. I've never had it all the way up past noon, so I have no idea, but this thing would probably easily go to 110, 115 dB, no problem. But it weighs 4 pounds. It's incredibly light, which means it makes it an awesome candidate for fly dates. So if you play in a tribute band or something like that, and you got to go from point A to point B, and sometimes, what happens is you have a guitar with a gig bag, and you can put a modeler in it. But you still, modelers are great. They do give you a lot of things. You can run that to front of house and everything is cool. But we guitar players always still want to have, we know, back of our minds, it's nothing like a real amplifier. And this is not a tube amplifier, but it is a solid state analog amplifier. So there is something that this thing does that modelers can't do, meaning that it hasn't been, turned into an abomination by killing the analog path, turning it into math, and then regurgitating it on the back end. In that process, when an analog signal hits an analog to digital converter, it's dead at that point. The analog to digital converter does a bunch of bullshit and then it spits it back out, but it can't reanimate the analog part. The only thing it can do is try to emulate it, but it's not the real thing. Kind of think of it like Coca-Cola, and then you've got RC Cola, right? It's kind of the same thing. So I love this amplifier. So what I did here is I bought that, and then I bought this used, in great shape, VHT cabinet. I chose this cabinet for a specific reason, because it's real plywood. It's not a, what do you call it? MDF. Now MDF, if you're unfamiliar with this, MDF is basically just glued together sawdust. Very heavy, very dense, doesn't have any tonal character to it. It gets any kind of moisture to it, it starts to fall apart. It's just not a great, it's a cheap way of making anything. If you're making cabinets, if you're making tables, it's very, very inexpensive. It paints easy. And I can understand why a lot of companies, I have a Marshall DSL 40C. I love it. It sounds great. It does what Marshalls do, but it's an MDF cabinet. And that has always bothered me about it. Why, you spend $1,000 for an amplifier. Why are they making it out of MDF? I don't know. I mean, I guess if you sell, 200,000 of them a year, those pennies add up. But I digress. So I bought this cabinet, which is a used VHT, and you can find these for a couple $100 all day long. This is the open back version. What I did was I taped some cardboard to seal it up. I swapped the Jensen speaker that was in it for a Celestion Creamback 65. And the reason why I did this particularly was because the Creambacks seem to be, as the name would apply, a little more creamier. Solid state amps tend to be a little harsh and crispy in the high end. Great for harmonics and that kind of stuff, but I wanted to tame that somewhat. So I took this cabinet, put the Creamback 65 in it, sealed the back up with a piece of cardboard, so now it's a sealed back enclosure, and you can find these with sealed back. What I'm going to do, I think, with this is get a piece of plywood and maybe some magnets or some hooks or something so that I can have it both, so that I can either seal the cabinet up, which will give you a drop in the 200 range and kind of tighten up the low mids. Good for that scooped up sound and kind of boost a little bit of that 80 hertz thump. Or take it out and then have more air, and you'll get more of that low end kind of arc to it, which is great for, kind of more of a creamy kind of lead tone, not so bright. So it's nice to change the cabinet in that manner. But for this, and I'm going to play a little bit so that you can kind of hear what this thing is. But again, I think this thing has a purpose. I think that a great purpose for a working professional musician is that it's flyable. It weighs 4 pounds. It can go in a duffel bag, in a backpack, real easy. So, if you're going to do a fly date from point A to point B, you grab a gig bag, you put your favorite guitar in that, put a couple pedals in there, or maybe you got a modeler that does everything, like a Line 6, the little mini pods that they have there, or there's so many of them now. The Nano Cortex is one that's really pretty cool. And you can either run that straight to front of house, which is one way, but again, we're going after an actual analog sound here. So you run that Nano into your gig bag. You take this, you throw this in your duffel bag, and then during the advance of the show, you just tell them that you want a 112 or a 212 cabinet or a 412 cabinet, whatever you like. And this will run that, and it's 30 watts, so it's plenty of power. So you're bringing your own head, you're bringing your own situation, and for fly gigs, it's great. So right now I have it running. You'll see my Jet City JC A50 is here. This is just where it lives in my apartment. That is a tube amp. That is a Soldano design, but we're talking about the Soldano Mini today. But I am running the pedals, so it's going into the wireless unit right here. Again, this is a BLX 4R by Shure, and what I like about that wireless unit is that it is an analog unit. It's a UHF analog unit. So in trying to keep things maintained, being a tone purist, a tone snob, I want to keep things as analog and real as possible and try not to ever convert it to digital. It's kind of the whole point of what I'm talking about here. Not shitting on digital. Digital has its place, but this is a different thing. So the analog wireless unit is going into my Morley wah volume there, which is great. I just love it. Sounds great. It doesn't kill the high end, so it's one of the better wah pedals out there. And then I have a Santa Ana overdrive, and then that's just running into the amp via the cable you see right there. And today I'm going to be demoing this on my Charvel DK24, which is right here. And this is completely stock. It's got the standard Seymour Duncans that come with it, which is Duncan, what is it, full shred, and then the S1s, the single coil pickups. Yeah. So this is the amp without overdrive. Definitely that Soldano kind of throatiness. Now, what happens when we kick an overdrive into it? Oh yeah, this is where it gets hairy. It's a beast of a little amp, and if for $250 brand new, you can't go wrong. This is, I think, perhaps one of the greatest solid state amps that you can buy. I would take this over a modeling amplifier all day long, 3 days to Sunday. I'm kind of a 4-sound guy. Like I'm not, I chase tone like most guys in my generation. But I don't chase sounds. So I'm not big on effects and that kind of thing. So I like pure tones. So like what is the minimalistic things in the front end, just to keep it simple. So I'm not somebody that explores a whole lot of sounds as far as reverbs and delays and wacky effects and this whole thing. I just like pure raw tone and what that does. And different amplifiers and cabinets and guitars will bring out different parts of your playing. Some are going to be organic, some are going to be, more bluesy, some are going to be more shreddy. There's certain sounds that make me want to play harmonic minor. There's certain sounds that make me want to play Phrygian. There's certain sounds that make me want to play more country or blues country. So there's lots of different sounds, and I think that there's a lot of exploration that you can do when you get away from all the effects kind of things. Not shitting on any of that either. Guys like The Edge made a career out of it. But for me, I just like chasing pure tone. This amp does another thing really, really well. If you take this switch here and you put it in the crunch mode, and you put your gain at about 11 o'clock, and then we take our mids and we bump that to about 1 o'clock, it really does a plexi bark really well. I think you can kind of connect the dots to see what sound I'm going after there without tripping the copyright police. So it does a real plexi AC/DC kind of thing really, really well. And again, it comes down to having the speaker. I see a lot of people buying these and getting like a little orange 1/8 speaker there. I think that's a really terrible idea. It's terrible to put anything in one of those speakers. It's just not designed to sound very good. You're not going to get any kind of low end out of it. Buy a proper cabinet. You can buy these used all day long for $200. There's all kinds of 112s around. You can buy a brand new Celestion speaker of your favorite flair or whatever, be it a Creamback or a Vintage 30. And that will take care of any high-end fizziness or anything like that. So a good cabinet, something made of solid plywood. It's kind of an oxymoron, but something made of plywood. His plywood is layers, but it's not MDF. So don't get an MDF cabinet. Get a plywood cabinet. The VHT cabinets, these are everywhere. You can find these all day long used for $200. I think they were only $300 new. Swap the speaker out, put a real speaker in it. So if it's something like this, very light, that cabinet probably weighs 10 pounds. The amplifier itself weighs 4 pounds. So you've got yourself, if you're a gigging musician, you're playing in a cover band, local circuit kind of situation, you're in and out, man. But that's not about, bringing all kinds of gear out and having, playing with your toys. If you're playing in a bar band and you're a cover band playing top 40 music. It's about getting in, playing, get paid, get out, right? Something like this is super, super great option for that. It's super light, very affordable. And another thing about solid state amps like this is they're super reliable. You know, the tube amps, they change from day to day. This will be the same sound no matter where you go in the world, no matter what you do. It'll always sound the same because it's solid state. So my view, better than modeling. Not quite a tube amp, right? It's not a tube amp, but you know, if you've got it here and you can play, certainly a great option. And it's nice and light. Click like and subscribe. Thanks. Peace.